Imagine an gender equal Tobago, a Tobago free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination, that's diverse, equitable, and inclusive, where differences are valued and celebrated. Together, we can forge women's equality. Collectively, we can break the bias. Welcome everyone to Wine with Books for International Women's Day. We're all reviewing the book, the latest book out of the Tobago Writers Guild authors from Mrs. Deborah Moore-Miggins, and it's called Laugh Not, Live Not. We'll be weaving in and out of our review a discussion about breaking biases and more today, so stay with us. I present to you today the panel, and they'll introduce themselves. But we have with us today the author, of course, Mrs. Deborah Moore-Miggins, also an attorney at law. We have Dayle Angus, a fashion designer and entrepreneur, and Cindy Lou Edwards, a production manager and technical theater director. Panel, please introduce yourselves.
My name is Dayle Angus. I am the designer behind House of Assembly and the brand Linkage as well. We've been in operation for about 5 to 6 years now, and very happy to be a part of this panel today and interested to see where the discussion goes.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Cindy?
Hi everyone, my name is Cindy Lou Edwards. I am an author, I'm a theatre arts teacher, and as Jewel shared, I am in production management, performing arts, specifically technical theatre. And I am honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cindy and Dayle. And Mrs. Miggins?
Hello.
Yes,
Yes.
please introduce yourself.
My name is Deborah Moore-Miggins, and I'm certainly honored to be at this very critical event. And I do thank the two panelists who have given up their time to be here. They are both distinguished in their own right, and I feel very privileged that they have conferred on me this honor. As you know, I am the author of, this is my third book really. The first one isn't as well known. The second one is called The Caribbean Proverbs That Raised Us. And this one I've attempted is one called Laugh Not, Live Not.
Thank you, Ms. Miggins, for being here. This is a joint event between the Tobago Writers Guild and the Tobago Writers Guild Publishing House. And we thought it would be important for us to do something for International Women's Day to bring visibility and to celebrate the achievements of our female writers. So the theme for International Women's Day is Break the Bias. Before we continue, here's a brief definition of what a bias is. It's a disproportionate weight in favor of or against an idea or thing, usually in a way that's closed-minded, prejudicial, or unfair. Biases can be innate or learned. People may develop biases for or against an individual, a group, or a belief. And this is a brief disclaimer. By reviewing the book Live Not, Laugh Not for International Women's Day, we are in no way intending to trivialize any experiences that anyone may be having or may have gone through. We are hoping to bring some visibility, ignite conversation and ideas today. I want to ask our panel, what did you think about the title of the book? I mean, Laugh Not, Live Not, and about the segments. What did you think about it? Did you think it was going to be a book about comedy or experiences? What did you think?
Well, the first word is laugh, right? So I think it was very, very appropriate because I was actually laughing while reading some of the stories and some of the parts of the book. And the title itself, it is true. Because even with the pandemic, but there's so much stress right now. And people need to remember to laugh because they have so many studies and research and stuff like this. But it relieves the stress. It brings balance, So if you haven't laughed, you haven't lived.
Yeah.
So I loved the title. I loved the stories. I was actually, you know, the LOL, laughing out loud. I was actually laughing while reading it, so I loved it. It was really great.
Yes, I'm glad.
For me, so yes, the thing is in the title, but I really did not expect it to be a comedic book. I expected it to be, you know, I guess something from someone of a more mature age, kind of speaking to life and, you know, just different experiences. I was not expecting it to be literally comedic relief.
Yes.
But I do appreciate the fact that it is comedic relief because I think it made it, it was an easy read. And I guess for people in like my generation or younger, you know, we're so used to having sound bites now. This is something definitely that I think, we would gravitate towards because it's easy for you to actually like go through it and read it, you know. But I did appreciate just learning while reading, you know. It's all comedy, but there are lessons in it. So I really appreciated that.
I love that you said that there are lessons in the comedy, you know. And that's one of the things that I thought the book did well. It brought to us some lessons in a very light way, so you were able to receive it without putting up, you know, a barrier. I wonder what they're saying. You know, what they're coming with now. You know, what's the angle?
I love the fact that in the preface, she actually acknowledged the fact that we are going through a pandemic because this is actually going to be a book that is going to be a recount of something that we were going, like that is actually a historical fact. We are actually going through a part of history now. So when our generations after us pick up the book to read it, they'll know that this was actually written through this pandemic. So I really appreciated that, you know, in the beginning.
I also love the fact that she brought awareness to a lot of Tobago traditions and our culture, because there are a lot of the younger generation that are not aware of certain things that she mentioned in the book. And it was really, even for the older generation, it was such a reminder of like, yes, this used to happen back in the day, long ago, this used to be. But I love the fact, and she took her time to explain certain things also. So it was such a beautiful awareness and reminder of the Tobago culture and the traditions that we had years ago.
Yes, very much so. And one thing that I think the readers would appreciate about this book is that it is, as you said, light reading, and makes reference to a time in history that's going to become, well, it's a current present, but it's now going to become history at some point. And now they're going to say, oh, what was happening then? And, you know, here we are, she wrote a book during COVID. And that is part of history, what we did to get through COVID as well, you know? And I think it was really amazing to me because, as you said, I didn't think it was going to be a book that would be making you laugh, right? I thought, it might have some funny stories, but it's literally comedy through the whole book.
I mean, there are certain parts in there. I was reading it with my partner yesterday, and we're literally sitting down on the bed like, what is happening? But I really, I enjoyed reading it. I did.
We want to get to a serious topic now, and we want to ask, as professional women, entrepreneurs in Tobago, have you experienced bias? Right? We want to just, you know, for a minute, go to a serious side of life. Breaking the bias. Have you all experienced bias in your industry? And if yes, have you ever used humor to rectify or bring attention to the bias that you experience? And how did it make you feel?
You want me to go first?
Sure.
So I think with my industry, it's a little bit different because at least in the Tobago space, we don't have a lot of large fashion houses where you have managers and people, you know, higher up who would most likely tend to be men. So because it's more of an individual entrepreneur doing their thing, and they might have people that work along with them, you don't actually have the space for, you know, misogyny within that aspect, you know, like in that way. I think, so that's within the Tobago space. However, I do have friends abroad who work in the fashion industry abroad, and I mean, the bias goes from A to Z, you know, whether it's double checking females' work as opposed to, you know, double checking male work, and just the way in which you deal with women in the office as opposed to how you deal with your male counterparts. It is something that it's difficult to deal with, but I do know that a lot of women have to use humor to get past it. Because it's one of those things where you kind of have to pick your battles. You know, like, is this the hill that you're gonna die on today? You know, like, no, but seriously, are you willing to die on this hill today, or can we get past this one today? You know, like, I think at some points you have to decide, is this something that I can look past? Like, is it just like a fly-by-night comment? Or is it something that it's a recurring issue that I now need to escalate? You know?
I like that.
But I'm very grateful for the space that I am currently in, because it allows me to actually literally do whatever I want, because I have my own business. And then even when I am working with a group or a team, it's just, we don't have those issues. I think because it was such a female-dominated industry within the Caribbean in general, we don't have as many issues. And I'm just speaking from my experience. I'm not, you know, I don't know if anybody else's experience is different. And of course, other people's experiences would be different. But from my experience, because it was so heavily female-led, you actually have less of a bias toward, you know, against women in that aspect. So I think we kind of look out in that area. So I don't know if that's going to change. I hope not. You know,
I hope it's going to change for the even better. It's going to keep improving in that way. Cindy?
Sigh.
I know.
I wish. I wish.
That's why I was like, I was very specific to say within the Tobago space and within my experience, because I know the minute you step outside of a small company or, you know, like your own individual brand, and you start working with corporate, it's a completely different ballgame.
My experience, opposite side of the spectrum. And I'm speaking on technical theater, the performing arts. Most people believe that, you know, if it's the performing arts, you don't have a problem because you're a woman and stuff. But my specialty is not on stage, but it is backstage. So being a technical director, being a lighting designer, knowing sound, being a production manager, there were so many biases. In Tobago, I experienced some, but I lived in New York for several years. And because I lived and worked in the industry in New York, I was sort of prepared for the biases here in Tobago. And not just Tobago, but the Caribbean also, because there's a stereotype with West Indian men that they think certain things, certain professions, women cannot, you know, do or be as good. So I did, when I came back to Tobago and I started working in the industry as a technical director, I basically had to prove myself. And I had to, quote unquote, show them that I know what I can do, unfortunately. But I had the experience in New York. In my field, there are not a lot of women, and there are not a lot of black women in that field. And because I had the experience of going through the motion, in a sense, in New York, I was not fazed when I came back to Tobago. And I am very thankful right now that I'm in a position where my work speaks for itself. So, you know, I will be called to do jobs or consultations because I have already proved myself. But the problem with that is sometimes you wonder as a woman, would the man have to prove himself? She's saying no already. But the man have to prove himself just as much, you know, because there is the assumption that, okay, he's a man and it's technical and he knows what he's doing. But a woman... And yes, I can not only hang lights, I can strip lights and put them back together. I can tell you what different speakers to use, what different microphones to use, right? But it took a while to get to that point.
Do you find that you've not only gotten that bias, that level of bias from men, but also from women as well?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because unfortunately, as I mentioned before, in the industry, it is expected that the women would be the performers or the dancers, or they even say you can be a stage manager, but to be a technical in charge of everything, lighting, sound, the special effects, all of this, it was hard for certain people to accept.
Yeah.
And it was a fight because unfortunately, sometimes we women do not support each other.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's them, other women saying, let's just stay in our lane. Let's just do this. But there's so much possibilities out there. And the little things that we need sometimes is just for another woman to support you and say, you go, girl. You can do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I had the experience from both women and men,
I'm hearing so much, Cindy, coming out of your contribution. And I have to take a drink for that. Let me tell you why. Because when you said it was actually some other women who were the reason for the bias, it's not easy to swallow, It's really not easy to swallow because you want to believe that we are united, that we are helping each other, and whereas we have so much support from other females. Sometimes it is just a little fly in the ointment that makes you feel sad or makes you feel a little low, but we have so much support from other women. It would just be the icing on the cake if it was the 100%. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying, and it's not always easy to deal with it, but I think you have what it takes to break that bias in me. And you never get into something that is not for you. That's why I always say, so this is for you, and nobody can take that away from you, Cindy. So cheers.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to take a quick little break. I just want to introduce this wine that we're sipping on today. It's called Wine with Books, and what we're sipping on is called Dame Lorraine. And this is by one of our part sponsors, Mainridge Wines. It's a brand out of Tobago, Bloody Bay. It's a brand from Tobago, a Tobago entrepreneur. And she gave us these 2 bottles of wine to sip on. And let me tell you, this one here that she's given us, this Dame Lorraine, this is what you want to get when you're having a little chill. We're coming out of COVID. You want to get yourself some Dame Lorraine. Yeah? So we want to continue with the review. And I want to ask, what part do you think humor and the ability to elicit laughter and to enjoy a good joke can play? Yeah? She's back on? Oh, Miss Miggins.
Are you hearing me?
Oh, lovely. Yes. Yeah, we're hearing you.
I reduced my screen. Let me see if I go larger if you'll hear me. Okay, if I go the full screen.
Yeah, we're seeing you fine. Yeah, we're seeing you fine. Everything is good on this end.
Are you hearing?
Yes.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Good. All right.
We're good.
So, I don't know what that was about.
That's okay. These things happen. And we had a question directed at you, the author. The name of your book was Laugh Not, Live Not. It is. And we want to find out from you, why did you choose this title? Why did you choose to write the book now? Is there something that you want to tell us about your impetus for writing Laugh Not, Live Not?
Well, I have found going through life in my own little way that when situations confront that, although it doesn't seem reasonable or rational, one of the ways to ride over it is to draw on some humorous experience you may have had in the past, how it made you feel, how relaxed and releasing it was, and to just apply that to the situation which confronts. So as I've been saying, over the years, I have been exposed to several humorous stories, jokes, and for some reason, they don't go out of my mind. I play them back whenever necessary. Sometimes they just pop into my head. And I began writing them down. Many stay around. I didn't even have to write them. So during the pandemic, when you were a little relaxed and you couldn't go to the office and not no work to do, but people just weren't allowed to come out much, I found myself just dusting them away up and putting them together. It didn't take much to do that. Plus, I usually say I have two of the best joke tellers, my brother Oswin Moore and my husband Donald Miggins. And they packed me with so much jokes the last 2 lifetimes, I think. So that's where the idea to put the book together came. I thought in this kind of environment of the stress and the anxiety, even the fear that the COVID situation was engendering in most of us, I said, let me just use the time wisely and put this together. Now, the title, I had so many different thoughts in my head and suggestions for a title. Oh, many, many, many. And I went through lots of different researching to see, well, what for me, I was thinking of myself, and then I said, would this please people? And I'm happy to hear Cindy say that it was a well-chosen title. So I put it together. I looked at other titles of dealing with similar subjects, and I knew I was in a place by myself because I hadn't seen anything like this, and I am virtually sure nobody could find a title songing like this one. So I said, this seems to be it, and I'm really comfortable and happy about the title, because as she said too, it's true. It really reflects your approach to life, and if you get that one little strategy where you can laugh, it is so relaxing. Yeah. Just laugh, and your life maybe could be prolonged. I know a gentleman wrote a book called Make Them Laugh and Prosper. And that was a very interesting one, because he was saying that you could actually grow rich. I have to read him a little more to see if I can follow his mandate so I can realize that dream. But, laughing could be a very, very good tonic for us when confronted with situations.
Yes. I would agree with you, and to tell you the truth, I'm also agreeing with you. That topic, the title, is very unique. I haven't heard a title like that before, and I think that would place any author, having a unique book title would place any author in a very advantageous position. And as a members of the guild, writing, putting together material, we always want to get that title that nobody else has, right? We want to get that unique title, and I want to tell you, I think you struck gold with that one. So I want to ask you,
thank you.
I want to ask you, Ms. Miggins, because we're also talking, we're looking at the theme of International Women's Day, which is Break the Bias. And I want to ask you if you have found humor to be useful in any bias that you, as a female author, a woman in law, have you ever used humor? Because there's a part in your book that talks about, laughter and the law. Have you ever used humor to deflect or perhaps to, deal with breaking a bias? And how did that make you feel?
Well, I must say, I keep going back in my mind to find the times when I faced bias. And they may be so few and far between that, frankly, I cannot put my hand on any such time. Now, that doesn't mean I haven't faced opposition, I haven't faced antagonism, hostility, and all that. But I never thought it was as a result of bias. I was in politics, so necessarily I faced opposition, you know that. In court, you face that kind of opposition, a different kind, but you face that as well. When you're dealing with a witness in the witness box, if he's not on your side, you get that heavy hostility flowing out of him or her. So while I may not be able to pinpoint a situation of bias, I certainly can pinpoint uncomfortable situations that would have confronted several. And I mean, you can't always go around like being humorous at the drop of a hat, but you have to be strategic in everything you do. And I can safely say on those occasions, when I resort to humor and created a humorous setting or environment, it worked wonders. I needed to excuse some of my grandsons. They could talk a little loud sometimes. I don't know if you're hearing them so far away, but yes, so biases exist in our society. I know that. But you know what? I think humor, what it really does, apart from releasing you, it gives you an opportunity to build confidence. And once you can muster confidence when confronted with situations and appear as though you are in possession of yourself, so that nothing anybody does at the moment can, as Cindy said again, phase you. That is what you want. You want that quick opportunity to collect your thoughts, because sometimes things can be so shocking that if you're not thinking on your foot or you don't have a kind of something to hold on to, you can get through. And that is what I think, resorting to humor situations in your mind, something that you may be able to grapple, to produce quickly in your mind to tell you, all right, cool this down, or this is the word you have to say in response. You may have a situation where you can't be cool. I think your other guests refer to that. Some things you have to come back, you have to hit back. And I think that you need that little space to give you to get back on your feet quickly, to recover from the shock, so that you can deal with, well, sometimes it's embarrassment that you feel, sometimes it's hurt, sometimes it's pain. You need a bridge to carry you over. And that bridge, for me at times, not alone in bias, but just in very uncomfortable, stressful, tension-filled situation, that bridge could be resorting to humor.
I love that you said humor and resorting to humor in uncomfortable situations is a bridge that can take us from that place of perhaps hurt, embarrassment, to a place of relief, you know, and that's an important thing for us to remember, to be able to find a bridge in whatever is happening in your life. It may not be humor for you, but find a bridge to get you over that, you know. So I want to ask, yes, I want to ask our panel, Ms. Miggins, you are included. There are very strong divides in what people find funny, right? Studies have shown that taste differences are strongly associated with socio-demographics. What do you think are some of the most notable divides in shaping these differences in our Tobago culture? Ms. Miggins, you weren't here for a while, so I'm giving you the opportunity to deal with that. In terms of socio-demographics and how, what a group might find funny, what do you think shapes that in Tobago?
Well, certainly our history, I would think, then our culture, then people say there is no class in Tobago, but we have a history of classism where we had the planters, the white planters, as opposed to the slaves or the people working the land in an agrarian setting. So history for sure, in which we were tied up with slavery, and our culture, even your geography, where you live, because I'm one who feel my village of Bethel, I think we are, you know, in my time when I grew, I hope it's the same now, we have taken the cake for humor. We had the characters we had in our village that would have helped us to develop a humorous look at things. The fact that we had our moonlight night serenades where we met at neighbors' houses and the yard and talk stories and rhymes and riddles, you know, just that posture of relaxation, camaraderie in the village, and humor. So it goes back to so many different things that I hope we all hold dear. But if as you've asked me, I would say the history, the geography, where you live, where your village come from, how your village makeup was, who were the elders in the village, and what they held there. Like in my village was the speech band, which you know is built on humorous so you know, we were looking for jokes and enjoying jokes through the speech band for years now. Then you talk about our culture, our history, where we live, and I guess the class that we, because remember in the old days, even the carnival came out of our mimicking of the massa, so that we were making fun of the things that he was doing in all seriousness for him. But for us, we saw it as it's a humor or comedy. We looked at him and we mimicked him, and out of that, we had this ability to laugh at others and ourselves. So that would be my approach to answering the question.
Yes, I love that. And it's so true. When we look at the history of not just Tobago, but of the Caribbean, where we come from, you know, we don't want to sometimes look at it too long, but our history, which is nestled out of slavery into colonialism, we did have a history of mocking massa, which a lot of our folklore and even carnival characters have come out of, right? We have, we're drinking right now Dame Lorraine, and Cindy was telling me Dame Lorraine is one of those characters that we portray for carnival that has the, you know, that exaggerated behind, right? You know, bubbling in the streets, as they say. So, you know, our history really does play a part in the Caribbean. I know for us specifically, how we laugh, what we laugh at, you know, our brand of humor, it's really nestled in our history as well as our culture. And I would even put it forward that perhaps even what school you attended, some of these jokes are, you know, and what's humorous, you know, at the time, depending on what year you graduated, certain jokes would be, you know, very commonplace at school. So there's so many things that would separate or divide us in terms of what we find humorous. But I think the most important thing is that Caribbean people love to laugh. You know what I mean? We love to laugh. And I want Cindy and Dayle to talk to us about what perhaps in their mind separates what people find funny.
Well, I thank you. It's a thin line, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, where a storm can be coming, and we're making a joke about it. It's a thin line, and I think in our culture, we tend to give the impression that nothing is off the table. Right? And you can make a joke about anything until it offends someone. And unfortunately, you have those instances where maybe a fight would break out if you say something about another person. But even as Miss Deborah was saying, it is part of our culture. It is part of our history. We make fun of everything.
Yes.
You know, but finding the line that says, okay, you went too far, it blurs. It blurs in our culture.
It really does. I think for me, you see, Pekong, I could never get into it. Because I'm soft.
Yeah.
I am soft. So you see, being able to have to like think quickly and come up with, like things off the top of your head, I'm not that person.
Yeah.
So I get offended very quickly. But I will stand off to the side, and if someone makes a joke, I might like, hee hee hee.
Yeah, that was funny.
No, because I know it's a thin line, and because of how soft I know I am, I'm always very hesitant to make jokes because I never know who I'm offending. However, I do understand that it is our culture, so I've had to over the years be like, okay, it's just a joke. You'll be fine. It's just a joke.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
It's just a joke.
It's just a
I'll
joke.
Be fine.
You'll
I'll
be
be
okay.
fine.
You'll be okay. We'll get out alive, right? But I do agree. It's a very thin line.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard some things, seen some things, and I'm like,
that's not funny.
That's not funny. But we're laughing at it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, when you really sit down and think about what this person said or wrote, I'm like, this is actually not funny.
Yes.
But for Caribbean people, for some reason, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, for some reason, we just cannot help it.
That is so true. And I think it comes from our culture. We have a heavy history. We have a very heavy history. And to probably, not have to wear that weight every day. Yeah. We tend to find a joke or humor in everything. And as Cindy was saying, a storm is coming. And we find in jokes. I could give you one example, and not to digress too far, but we had a storm coming. There was a storm watch, hurricane watch, and they sent people home early. I was working in Port of Spain at the time, and I was hustling. If you see me making a mad dash, I walking all in the drain. If you see me hustling, I get to Arima, and these people are in the streets. There are beer specials.
Oh my.
It's called hurricane specials, and this man, he is selling hurricane screws.
Yeah. Literally,
he's selling screws. For you to board up your house. And he is saying, buy a pack of balls and you get a free screw. He was selling camphor balls and screws.
With the recent lockdowns, they had lockdown special. I remember I think we were going back into lockdown, right? And there was some bar or somewhere in Trinidad that was like last call basically before we shut down.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
And then the as of midnight tonight became a huge thing.
Yes.
Like anytime the Prime Minister had anything to say, anytime. Now it's as of midnight tonight, So
and one of the things
that became it flew.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, one of the things that I want to just add, that even though people were making light of the fact that there was a hurricane watch, it really it calmed me down a bit.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, my pressure was up here. And when I realized people were taking it a little, I was like, okay.
Breathe.
Okay, let me just take a breather here. But I want to ask you all, what's your favorite part of Miss Miggins' book? And this is one of we're wrapping up right now. What's your favorite part of Miss Miggins' book?
So, okay.
I'm going to start you off. No, Cindy, you go ahead, Cindy, go ahead.
I think we're on the same page.
I think so too.
Because first of all, there is no favorite part. There are so many stories in this book, that are unforgettable. But there's a character by the name of Think Fast.
Yeah.
I am not going to give too much information. Get the book, read the book.
Yes.
But I loved him.
Listen, I'm gonna sell out Think Fast. No. Mrs. Miggins, I am selling out Think Fast. So Think Fast is selling melons in this story. And this big burly guy walks up to him, it's evening time, and he insists he must get a half a melon. So Think Fast tells him, we're not cutting melons right now. we're selling them whole. And he says, I want a half a melon. You hear what I tell you? So Think Fast now runs in the back. He say, let me go and ask my boss. I'm coming back. He runs in the back and he says to the boss, he say, boss, it have a real jackass outside and he want half a melon. And while he's saying that, he's hearing a noise in the back to look back and see this man towering over him. The man followed him in the back. And he says, and if we cut the melon, we will, the jackass outside will get half and this goodly gentleman will get the other. Listen, I nearly passed out. I said, listen, sometimes you really have to think fast, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. But we just want to close off, you know.
One.
Oh, sorry, Dayle. Tell us, please.
I think my favorite was the story of the mathematician, the philosopher.
Oh my.
That's my favorite story. Because I think it just speaks to the fact that, you know, a lot of times you think that you're smart and common sense
It's not common.
is not common. So, I think that's why I really appreciate.
Oh my God.
I really appreciate that
Yes.
story, you know, because the three of them were meeting with this celestial being, and two of them, you know, name things that obviously the celestial being would have access to,
Yes.
right? And so you're thinking, you're like, but why would you ask this? You
Yes.
know? And then the vagrant is the only person who actually tricks the celestial being, and
Wow.
you know, it's a good story. It's a
Listen,
very good
guys,
story.
get the book.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah.
called Laugh
Yeah.
Not, Live Not. And we're wrapping up right now. And, you know, while we're wrapping up, we want to give the author some time to give us the last closing few words. But as we come to the end together, Miss Miggins, are you there with us?
I think so. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we're
Yes.
hearing us. Please
All
give
right.
us your
I
closing
just want to go back a little to what both Dayle and I think Cindy said. There were two little things that I remembered. Cindy said, Dayle said she usually say, is a joke. And it reminded me of one of the names I had been playing around with for the book, which was, is Joker Make Him. That was the first name I had, and then I worked on it and worked it up. But as she said it, it just brought it back that, you know, that was a name I was considering. The other thing is in Cindy saying about the hurricane, and to tell you how we here would make a joke of everything. There's a joke which I didn't even remember to put in the book about a man driving down a one-way street somewhere in Trinidad. He should have been driving up, he's driving down. And people are blowing him and say, you're going the wrong way, you're going the wrong way. He said, this is Trinidad. So he mean, in Trinidad we could do anything we want. And I just know that, you know, he's going the wrong way is a serious thing. You can't just say this is Trinidad. And that was his answer to the whole thing. Ladies, I really appreciate, you know, all the real generous and kind things you've said about the book. It has given me so much more confidence because, you know, when you do these things, I guess, Cindy, you would know, you wonder, well, how people would look at it and what they would think. But, you know, I'm heartened by Dayle's statement that there were stories there that made you think and that really were high, if you want to put it that way. And that is what I hope to achieve. That even when you read the jokes and you laugh, you'd find something to learn.
Definitely.
And that is what it did for me, because I must tell you, quite a lot of these jokes assist me in my law practice. There's no joke. It assists me in the court, in dealing with things, and every day in dealing with clients who come in and sit before you and that kind of thing. So, and that is really what I had hoped to hear, and I am happy that it has fallen on the kind of ear that would pick that up, that it's intended, some of them, to give us lessons as to human nature and quite apart from all the humorous feeling that we get.
Yeah.
There is an underlying story that seeks to teach about life. And I'm happy that I think that the point has been received.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joel. This was a lovely afternoon.
Yes.
I'm happy that we were able to do this. I just hope that the women who are truly going through much more than we around this panel will ever understand. You know, that I don't know if this book alone wouldn't do it, but that some way their pain and suffering could be eased. They need more than a book, and but you know, let's acknowledge them, and let's always try to see what we personally can do to help in those extreme, and there are extreme situations that women are facing, and I don't want us to ever forget that. I don't want the book to make us forget that either.
Yes. I want to thank you, Ms. Miggins. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Dayle, for being here with us. We have authors in the Guild. There's a lot of talent in the Tobago Writers Guild. Cindy just launched a book, and it's here for us to see before we go. Cindy, thank you very much for letting us display your book. Let me tell you, there is so much talent. If you're a writer somewhere, you have some talent, you don't know where you're going with that, come into the Guild. Come and check us out, right? And see where we can help you and find a home in the Guild. And I want to thank our sponsor again. This is Dame Lorraine. And cheers, ladies. We don't want to go past our time, but cheers as we enjoy our wine with books. Thank you.